can't take action at work session.
Right, you're right. Can't take any action in work session.
Supervisor Graham, is this one, I think you talked with the individuals as well, is this one that we would need to go to executive session?
It's regarding an economic development issue, dealing with the Weston Hotel.
We have-
Update where every supervisor know what's going on with it.
We have authority with respect to economic development to go into executive session as well. And so it's a pleasure for supervisors as to whether they want that presentation openly. I'm not sure what questions you have in mind, but with respect to certain economic development projects, and I'll pull up the statute, the body can go into executive session.
So,
Subsection J.
Thank you, Greta.
I think we can go into this just that one particular issue. I don't think it'll last very long, because I know we have a lot of other different issues that you need to go into. Just whatever your discretion is.
Mr. President, yes, sir. I'm gonna have to be very, in the middle of one thing, and this getting hot. Trying to make sure everybody's paid and paying something and everything else. And I had some guests that had to come in, and, they set up as well, we can get them in their presentation, and, we'll hold off on towels, because our people not here to talk about towels, and
We'll give that to Supervisor Stokes at this time. Is it listed as economic development?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Mr. President, so many times when you think about businesses leaving out of Jackson, it's good when you hear about businesses that want to come to Jackson. And I was asking Supervisor Green because it seems like that's one of the things that the governor speak about is this new laundry situation. They want to get all of the different hospitals to use a central laundry shop. And he always talked about it's gonna be located off the Saturday, and I kept thinking, and I had a chance to meet it, and it's really right in the road, just before Ellis Avenue, right behind Reverend Cooper Church, the old, the Saturday St. Wendell, and all of that. But this is a company that was located right off Mitchell Street. There's a laundry there now. They had been there years and years and years, and they sold it, and they moved some operation to Durant, Mississippi. So now they want to come, they're gonna stay in operation in Durant, but they're gonna bring some operations here in Jackson also. And I put this item that was just perfect for the work session, so they have a chance to kind of explain what they want to do. And a gentleman I met, Bird, I'm gonna mess up your name, would you? Rubinsky, and he said he's gonna have Ms. Pollock to do the presentation. Bert, we're talking to everybody in Ms. Pollock.
Thank you for having me.
Okay. Thank you. Robin Pollock, P-O-L-L-A-C-K. We'll speak I'll keep this as brief as possible. So everyone, my name is Robin Pollock. Thank you for having us today. As Mr. Stokes said, we've been in operation in Durant since about 2001. Our company is at about 165 employees in Durant, and our company is growing very rapidly. So at this time, we are looking to expand and feel that our opportunities in Durant have been somewhat maxed out. We've recently been made aware of the real estate on Raymond Road, and have some other business ventures that we're working on that we'd like to move into this facility, and wanted to talk to you a little bit about it today. Right now we do a lot of laundry processing. One of our biggest customers are casinos, and so what we're looking to do is move some of the casino linen processing to this Jackson facility. It's actually much more efficient for us to do it this way versus keeping this business in Durant. We're also looking to begin garment processing for a garment line we've invented, and manufacturing of a system that we are working on for healthcare and other industries. And we would begin doing inspections and distributions and have some other skilled labor and other types of workers coming to the facility as well. And we're looking at January 1 of 2016 to be at about 100 employees or more. And adding more, about 50 employees through 2017. Just so you have a little background, as Mr. Stokes said, Mr. Rubinsky's family was the founder of Jackson Industrial Uniform. It was started in 1959, a plant on Mitchell Avenue that they later sold, but is still in business today. So we didn't leave an empty plant there, we sold to a public company. It is still fully operational. Bert and his family went on, and his partner Kenny Perry went on to do denim finishing and processing. And in 2001, First Class Linen began. The plant in Durant started a little bit later, but through their work at First Class Linen and some other ventures, they started learning about fabrics and creating new systems and operations for different industries. So right now, First Class Linen does food and beverage and hospitality processing for laundry. And we're looking at moving some of that business to Jackson, but also adding these new garments and systems as well to that facility. As you can see, we've had very steady and great employee growth. We started in 2004 with about 35 employees, and now again, as I said earlier, we're at 165 and looking to expand. And the way we would do this is First Class Linen is, again, the company that is in business today, and we would bring that in with Medical Grade Innovations. This is the company that is working on manufacturing and creating these garments and textiles and new systems to bring to different industries. The whole concept is that in the past, Bert and his team have been able to innovate fabrics and different ways of doing things that increase efficiency, lower energy costs, and are just greener and better options. And we're taking that and putting it into a different organization called R&T Fabrics, which is the DBA of Medical Grade Innovations. Together, these two companies would be part of First Class Holdings. That would be the umbrella company. So essentially, what we're looking to do is grow organically by 5 to 8% with First Class Linen, increase 2014 operating income by 5% or greater. MGI, which is the DBA of R&T Fabrics that is going to be married closer to First Class Linen through First Class Holdings, is looking to get into food processing and healthcare systems. And what we're really trying to do, again, is use our experience with innovation to show these different industries how they can do things better, how they can better control bacteria and bacterial pollution within their environments, which is a big problem today. We won't get too into the details on that because I know I don't have a lot of time, but basically our overall goal is to redefine clean and make this new plant really state-of-the-art. We have some patents that are pending and patents already that have been given to us and folks that we're working with for new ways to wash things, new fabrics to be used, and just overall new systems in general that really haven't been employed in any laundry or processing facility internationally as of yet. This is just our leadership team. As you'll see, the Raymond Road location falls under First Class Holdings. Henry Williams would be the plant's general manager, and this is where we would be bringing in the new jobs.
Who would be the Williams?
Henry Williams over here,
What you saying? His position would be what?
general manager.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So again, just to explain a little bit more about this new company that's marrying with First Class Linen, the company in Durant that's already got 165 employees, we're bringing some of that business here. What we're trying to do is control bacterial pathogens because we know that infections are a big problem in a lot of industries, not only healthcare, but food processing. I don't know if you saw the latest Consumer Reports, is your chicken safe to eat? There's a lot of problems with infections and bacteria that are getting into the consumer population through a variety of avenues. And what we're trying to do is help companies control these pathogens. And we've done a lot of programs in uniform rental, in food and beverage, fabric, again, finding great fabric, and it's brought all of this together. And so, our basic product is selling these pathogen-controlled environments to these different industries. We've got a lot of folks that are working with us that are electrical engineers, folks from biotech. We've got a former public health officer from the CDC, who's one of the leaders on our team, bringing all of this information together and then out into the market. And we've, again, got multiple patents and patents pending in these areas. These are the 4 main industries that we're looking at. Initially, food and healthcare would be where we would go first. Again, we'll be going after in healthcare, hospitals, nursing homes, clinics, in food processing, which is an industry we know very well because we're a food service supplier right now at First Class Linen. And hopefully this will translate to these 4 main industries that really have issues of pathogen control. You'll see sports on there. There's been major breakouts of MRSA, which is a major bacterial infection. Just recently on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they had 4 players coming down with MRSA, and we think we know the reason why. And part of our program is helping control those issues. Again, we are working with experts in every area of research and training and electrical engineering. Our Chief Science Officer, Dr. Cohen, he has background on research with hospitals, nursing homes, laboratories, sterilization and disinfection. He's written protocols for a variety of industries. He is, again, some of his training experience is on here. I guess most notably, he was responsible under Surgeon General Koop for helping develop the protocols for bloodborne pathogens when they found out that AIDS was transmitted through bloodborne pathogens. So what he was able to do is implement a new program in hospitals who all of a sudden had to start buying gloves. So if you remember way back when you would get your blood drawn, your lab technician did not wear rubber gloves. And all of a sudden, when this new regulation came out about how everybody needs to wear gloves, and when they're taking blood, hospitals and healthcare facilities in general got kind of nervous about spending all this new money on buying gloves. And so he went in and trained and worked with the leadership in the different healthcare facilities, the different governmental agencies to help them put together protocols and how they needed to treat patients with AIDS, because we came up with a whole new system on how we had to do that back in the 80s. So that's just part of his experience. Another thing that would be part of our system and part of what the employees would be doing at our new plant is assembling Wello stations. A Wello station is basically something that we would put at major entry and exit points for employees as they enter and exit the work environment. What the Wello station does is a retinal scan of each employee as they come in, and it takes their temperature. We know that community-acquired infections are contributing to what's going on in healthcare today, where we have all this bacterial pollution and problems with infections in our facilities. And the main reason is because we really have no control over who's coming in and who's going out. So this will take your temperature, and if your temperature deviates from about 1.5 degrees higher than your normal temperature, it will set off an alert and allow the HR department within the facility to deal with that accordingly. We know just from our business that sometimes people come into work because they really just want to make sure that they get their work in for that day and they get paid for that day. This helps kind of adjust the way we do things without penalizing those people, but putting them in the right place so that they're not open to infecting others. Okay, MGI is again part of RNC Fabrics. We've come up with bactericidal and bacteriostatic fabrics that complement the Wello system. They will not allow bacteria to grow and in some cases kill bacteria. So if you think about a patient in a patient bed, they could be wearing a patient gown that's actually killing bacteria and keeping it away from their skin, which is not what we have in the marketplace today. We've already done a lot of community outreach and developed a lot of alliances. We've met with Governor Bryant, his Chief of Staff, Joey Sonke, on a couple of occasions. Trey Hairston, who is a key developer of the Healthcare Zone Act, has been working with us through Butler Snow. We've met with Kathy Gelston, who we have a relationship with through First Class Linen at MDA. And we've also met with the Mississippi State Health Officer, Dr. Mary Currier. And everyone has been excited about the idea that we've put forth. So from a job perspective, what we're looking at for Q1 of 2015 is bringing 60 employees or new employees, I guess it would be a combination, from Durant to serve the existing casino business within this new facility that would be on Raymond Road. They will be available to enter on-the-job training as needed. They can be mentored by current employees. We've done this before, so we have experience in this area. and teach them all about wash, processing, production, and delivery. By Q2, we think we'll be able to add some employees to the MGI portion of the business. These folks would be skilled or mentored in the areas of product development, customer service, inventory management, acting as sewing plant liaisons, RFID integration, which is a technology position, working on the Wello system assembly. So this is a mix of skilled and unskilled labor. And then we plan to hire 15 employees every quarter through 2016, 2017. And again, I mentioned this cover of Consumer Reports. We know that there's a problem out there with bacteria. This article is about the fact that organic chicken, regular chicken that's Kroger brand, chicken treated without antibiotics, they all came out the same. They all have a high level of bacterial contamination in testing. They found that we've had a lot of recalls recently. We know that there are industries in need of controlling these pathogens, things like the pathogens that lead to salmonella, listeriosis, all these foodborne illnesses that we hear of all the time. 48 million people get sick each year from foodborne illness. So, and it's attributed to these pathogens. So we think that if we put folks in the right garments that don't let the bacteria grow, and then make sure no one sick is coming into work, we can really make a huge difference. If you have any questions, please.
Mr. President, could I suggest we ask them to come today, so they can meet the board of supervisors? And I'm hoping that time will permit them, so they can stay and talk to everybody individually.
Okay.
Any questions, answers, and everything else, before we put it on the agenda. That's why we want a discount, because I had a chance to meet them late last week, but they're knowledge on this thing and what they're doing and try to sum it up. Again, we remember the governor, he said he's trying to do a hospital thing where still all the drugs at the hospital we can cover. However, if that's on hold, this company is still moving forward, coming to Jackson, and they're gonna deal with the gambling casino that they're using now, that they're gonna clean and do those things. I think they'll purchase the building, they're coming, whether it's gonna be a laundry service or not. And I think that's kudos for this community group.
Thank you.
Thank you. We thank you for your presentation as well. We have a statement from District 1 Supervisor.
Yeah, I just want to say that I have several questions that I can wait and meet with them individually.
To keep things moving on, but,
I have several questions as it relates to this issue. Number one is, when are you going, what's the timetable for your relocation? And I can hold all the other questions and meet with you individually. What's the timetable for your relocation?
Within the next 90 days.
I can meet with them individually, Mr. President.
Okay, thank you. Supervisor Calhoun.
Are you all asking for any type of business incentives? Or you're just gonna relocate your company? And also are you all going through any Pacific Economic Development Districts such as the city of Jackson or Hinds Counties?
Well, we're here today to ask the county for help because we looked at doing the whole project ourselves and it didn't, we couldn't do it. Right now, it's pretty much on my financial capability. And so with everything we've done, we have limits. And what we want to do here is we've been approved to work with MDA on a $5 million MDA loan for this particular location, but we want to come to the county and ask for assistance. We're not sure yet what those numbers are and how we would do it, but we feel like urban development would make a lot of sense in my hometown. I was born at St. Dominic's. I went to Casey and Span, and in 2001 and 2, we had to make a decision where we want to go for the next 10 years. And Durant made it very interesting with water rates and how they helped us move a lot of facilities there. We want to keep that, but we want to invest back into Jackson millions and millions of dollars to bring those jobs back. The plant that she referred to earlier, Robin, on Mitchell Avenue has over 200 people. That laundry's run every day since 1959 when my parents built it. So hopefully this will be an investment that'll be around for 50 or 60 years as well. So more financial information we can bring to you next week.
Okay, I welcome you all, but let me suggest that you go through our Hinds County Economic Development District, which is our development authority, they will work with you and then also come back and present you to the board with what some of your requests are for the board's approval.
Yes, ma'am.
I think Supervisor.
And our executive director is Blake Wallace.
Supervisor Snow.
Mr. President, I just want to thank this board and ask Ms. Lane to make sure we get all invitations for everything that we want with King in your boxes today. And I apologize for any delay, and I apologize again for having to leave early, but we want to thank this company for looking at coming back. He said this has been his home, he's born at St. Thomas, for coming back home and making us proud. Thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. President,
I think it's just one.
last question. Are we talking about the old Sam's building?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right, okay.
Again, thank you. Notice on here, it says bring job opportunity to Hinds County District 5, so when you feel that to capacity, District 2 also has some space.
Thank you. Thank you.
Let me do this right here. Everybody's going to be pressed for time apparently this morning. I am going to go ahead and allow our elected officials to go ahead and present their presentations. Then we will meet with the Western in executive session after that. As it is listed on our agenda, we have a request coming from, it's not on our agenda, I'm sorry, a special request that's coming from our Public Defender's Office. This is Harris, so she will come down.
Good morning. I am here this morning, I don't know if you all received any documentation, but we, at the beginning, well, I guess mid last year, we had 2 individuals to resign. And we have filled those positions. The last position that we filled, we actually ended up hiring someone who had just received their license in 2012. I have made it a point to try and make sure that the salaries are in line based upon experience. The individual whose position they took was making a salary higher than would have been recommended to pay that individual. So we started that individual at $50,000. That left $7,250 remaining in unused salary. So we are now here before the board asking that I be allowed to utilize that $7,250.56 to spread out among 5 attorneys in our office. That would mean that they would receive an increase of $1,450 per attorney. These are the lower paid attorneys in the office. We have 4 attorneys who will be exempted from this. These individuals actually make over $70,000. And I am trying to build the salary up for individuals who are, we would like for our starting salary to at least be 55, and we have attorneys who have not made it there yet. I mean, and that's low. So this would help if we could utilize this $7,000+ and just spread it among those attorneys.
Okay, thank you. And again, this is a work session, so we will not vote on it, but if the board had any questions that they wanted to pertain to this or any additional information they needed, we can entertain it at this time.
Suppose I have one question.
Supervisor Graham?
Mr. Purvis, how many employees or how many attorneys do you have now? And this will only affect 4?
This will only affect 4. We have a total of 12 attorneys in the office, including myself. And when I started, we actually had 13. But the JAG grant, one attorney's position was funded by the JAG grant, and that grant has expired, so we were not able to recoup. We did ask the board for an additional position, but we were not able to fund that position. So right now we have 12 attorneys. This will only affect 4.
Okay. And my last question is, are we moving prisoners any quicker now?
I kind of think it's about the same, frankly. Just being honest with you.
All right, thank you.
Supervisor Galvin?
No, but if you say, can you tell us why you think there's not an additional movement in regards to moving prisoners?
Well, and let me just say this, the process, I think initially when we started, there was a big push to move individuals. And that went well for a while, but I think things have somewhat slowed down for whatever reason. And, you know, I can't point the finger at any particular individual, but I think that we're still just kind of stuck. I know there are things that would help, but again, that would require hiring additional personnel. And I know that, you know, the board has been pushing to make sure that some of the bigger things with regard to the grand jury investigation were completed. So hopefully, you know, we move into the next phase and we're able to obtain some additional personnel.
Supervisor Green?
I appreciate you know, bringing this forward, but my concern is that if we do this, this strategy of divvying the money up would set a dangerous precedent for other departments as well. It's, I think it's something that we need to guard against, because this is going to layer on some recurring expenses that I think we need to be careful about. And if we need to get to a point where we're raising the starting pay or the minimum pay, and we need to address that in personnel and in our budget, our annual budget.
Now, the reoccurring expenses that you're referring to, this is already budgeted in the highest salary.
That's correct.
So if that person was still there, it's still automatic.
Exactly. This money is there. This will not be any additional monies that would be needed. This money was there, it was set aside for salaries. In an effort to not lose that $7,000, that is why we're trying to spread it out among these individuals. But it's not actually any additional money that would be involved. This is money that was already set aside for salaries.
And it's of my opinion that if it's the board's desire just to save money, then that would be an option to consider removing it. But again, it does not add any additional burden to the budget at all.
That's correct.
In the current budget or future budget. Any other questions? Thank you very much for your patience and coming and sharing this with us, and we'll take that into consideration. We will be on the Tuesday's agenda.
Thank you.
We also have with us, Mr. Eddie Fair. Thanks, Clay.
Good morning, everyone, Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen. I understand this is a work session. We're asking for an additional $12,295.52 to be added to our budget. With the, some months ago, we was approved for a second car. We have a loaner car at this point. So we need, in the past, we had $2,400 in our fuel budget. And for the second car, we needed an additional $2,400 for our property tax statements, which we had previously been, I guess, getting it out of our interface. We found out that we're not supposed to get it out of interface, so we had a negative in that. And then Loomis had an increase, And then we also had, Loomis had a $6,000 increase, and our property tax statement was $3,291.34. And then we had a camera upgrade, which was $604.18.
Basically, what he was talking about is that with the fuel, we're currently operating on the budget to fuel one car. So we're requesting that $2,400 for the second car for the tag investigator. And then the account 5223, as he was stating, the property tax cards have gone out every year. They've already been mailed out to all the taxpayers. However, it's always come out of our interphase budget. This year, we were informed that we can't do that, and we didn't budget for it in our general fund. So that's created a shortage. And with our Loomis, the increase with the Loomis bill and RJ Young and our contractual printing, right now, we're forecasting a $6,000 shortage because of the increase with Loomis. And also with the camera upgrade, it's an additional $600 because we upgraded to the infrared cameras. We did have, in the previous problems that we had with break-ins in our Raymond office, it occurred at night, or, so that we felt like that for more security reasons, that it would be better to do the infrared technology, which was additional $600.
Questions from Supervisor Kellogg?
Yes, Loomis is not the only company that can provide the services. Are they the only company?
That's the only company that we have the contract with. We have a contract with Loomis.
I mean, I guess what I'm saying, are there other companies out there that can provide the same service? If so, I would suggest that we do an RFP to see if we can come in with a better price point.
Ms. Carter?
I'd like to comment on that, Mr. President. We are having problems with Loomis because their bills are extremely high. And there's a procedure that they have that they end up charging us extra in the clerk's office. Because when they come through the doors, that's when they get out of the car, the truck, that's when their time starts. So when they do the tax collecting, they call us, we come down, then they go back to the truck. Then that's when their time officially ends. So they charge us extra. And because they only supposed to be, what, 5 minutes in the building, or less than 5 minutes, and even if the driver has to go to the bathroom, they still penalize us. And we've been dealing with this, trying to get them to waive that fee, so we've got a real problem with them. And I just don't know anybody else, we've been trying to figure out who else we can use, because I have personal issues with it.
If we could do some research to see if there is another company in the area, or put out an RFP.
Question, statement?
Yeah.
Ms. Kellogg. Supervisor Greer?
My question is, if we have a contract with these folks, we would have budgeted accordingly for a contract, but now we have a $6,000 increase. I don't understand. I guess I don't know. If we're under a contract with them, which,
Well, we got notification in November that there was going to be an increase.
and our contract with them terminated when or ends when, or?
I'm not certain that's county account.
It's kind of an open contract at this point.
Board of Supervisors, Ms. Carr, I've heard your concerns already today. Don't pull the contract and look at it.
Thank
See
you.
what the terms are, see
Thank
when it ends, see how we can get out of it, see if they can charge us for the amounts that they're charging us for.
Let me ask you so I'm clear. What exact, the service they're providing, what exactly are they doing for you?
They pick up and they drop it off to each different bank that we are asking them to drop it off at. They pick up here in the Jackson office as well as the Raymond office.
And the clerk's office?
It's the same way, we have several accounts and they drop off to various sites. They do regions, Trustmark for us. I think most of ours are regional Trustmark.
Does Wells Fargo also do that? They do that service?
I'm just not sure anymore. That's the only one that I've ever seen anywhere, we won't do this. But we would be glad to work with the board of attorney to try to come up with a resolution for this, because I'm really concerned about the increase in price. This is only having a monopoly, and they can charge you whatever they want to charge.
I do know some few years back, I think only Mr. Calhoun was here, when we, had a problem with the amount that they was charging us. Trustmark National Bank, giving us a higher interest rate to offset a lot of it. If you look at now, most of your banks are like 0.5 and Trustmark's 1.76. And we came to, Trustmark came to the board with us and agreed to give us a higher interest rate to help offset some of that at that particular time. Now, they've gone up even since then.
Any other questions from the board? Ms. Calhoun?
What is their rate of charge, and how often do they pick up the company? How often does the company pick
They
up?
pick up every day.
Every day. And what is their annual, what's the annual charge?
Bills are varied. Within the last 12 months, the statements have been from 16 for 1 month, and then maybe the next month it might be 19. 1,000, yeah, 1,800.
Yeah, like Ms. Carr said, it's depending on how much time they spend here. They're charging us for the amount of time they spend in the transfer credit bureau.
And it's not based on what time they let us know that we're down, because we've even logged what time they call us and tell us to be down. And right now, we have had people on the phone talking to us since we got our last bill, because we monitor. They charge you from the time they say, they call you to the time you get downstairs. And by the time we get downstairs, and we keep them checked off, but then when we get our bill, they said we were late getting downstairs, but we weren't late. Here's our law. So y'all need to go back and readdress it. And what they told Keelan was, they charge from the time that driver gets out front, comes in the building and leaves, whether it's our fault or not. So how can you charge me if it's not my fault?
And they'll stop and talk sometimes.
Well, that's my opinion, they ought to call you and say, be at 2:15, and if you're not there, then you charge me. That's my
Come in the
opinion.
building, when you get out of the car, call us, we'll meet you at the front door.
Charge them.
Wait, well,
And I don't know if they're also charging us for driving to Raymond as well.
Supervisor Graham, we have a question.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Will this upgrade to your camera system, will that satisfy your security needs, or, I noticed the camera system at Jail Life was made in 1910. Will this handle all of the, satisfy your security needs, or does that system needs to be upgraded completely as opposed to just doing this one particular upgrade?
No, we're very pleased with it. It does a lot of things for us. You know, it records, I believe, how many
And so
hours?
before, our cameras only recorded for 8 hours, so only during the hours that we were here for operation. So they didn't record at night or on the weekends. We have this month for 30 straight days. We have the footage on the DVR, so we can go back and play, you know, date and time for whatever specific time.
So the system is okay, you just need a better monitor.
No, it's been engraved, this was a balance,
Okay.
it was $600 more than, the initial, instant.
What about the monitors? I noticed the one in Mr. Fair's office was old, pump fake television.
Yeah, we still have the same.
We're just keeping those, I think they're sufficient now that we can access them from our computers as well.
Oh, okay.
Supervisor Calhoun?
I'm sorry, I know that we changed subject, but I had a question relative to, the armed services that are being provided to help protect our transactions back and forth to the bank. But is it a statute, and I heard Supervisor Reader say something, even though he didn't say it publicly, but is this to hire and contract with an armed company such as Lewis? Is it a state statute, or can we hire, for example, in cooperation with the sheriff's department, members of his SWAT team? I'm just using that as a hypothetical example. I'm not saying that's the way things should be done, but as an example, could members of the sheriff's department perform that same function?
Well, I will say that even with women's coming to pick up daily, we only have ladies in our bookkeeping department. And they sometimes still have to go to the bank to pick up and drop off. And then we still have to get a guard or someone to help them out the car with all the quarters and all the stuff. So it was.
I don't know if it's possible or not. I don't know if it's in the statute. Ms. Carson, you know if it's in the statute?
The statute only requires that you make a deposit, but because there's so much money involved in the transport fee, I would not feel comfortable with an individual. I mean, and there are peak times in our office that we have to have them come twice a day to a Monday, because there's a lot of cash money, and it's a major responsibility to put on anybody's take it to the bank. But the statute only requires that you make a daily deposit. And we still take some checks to the bank, but cash, we rather send it through service.
Any other questions from the board?
Mr. President, can I ask a question?
County Administrator?
Mr. Brown brought this to my attention. Is the camera system battery backed up? Is there battery backup for the camera system?
That I don't know.
Yes, that's what he was showing us. It is.
Any other questions, Mr. Frank? Thank you. We will make sure it is on the agenda and take it into consideration at the next board meeting.
Thank you, sir.
Sheriff Department, do you have any?
This is my first informational work session. I'm actually here today to talk about a revenue generator for once. I'm not asking for any money at all. I've been discussing with the board attorney, I've forwarded to the county administrator, and I just wanted to introduce what's on the agenda for next Tuesday for the Hinds County Sheriff's Department. I don't know if you know, or I'm sure board members who've been here before know that currently we have an inmate telephone service that's provided to us by Securus. That is what we consider a revenue generator for the county. It's strictly commission-based. As you know, inmates use the phone, they're charged a certain fee from their families, and their families are charged a certain fee as well as they are charged a certain fee. And that commission from that fee, so a certain percentage from those fees go to the county directly to the general fund. And it's a pretty good amount most of the time, well, all the time really, because that's one thing inmates do is that's use the phone, and they have privilege to use the phone. With that being said, the contract with Securus is currently up, and we've been actually talking to different companies. I think we're at about 8 companies that have submitted proposals to the board of supervisors and as well as the sheriff's department in reference to a new phone system. One of the things the sheriff's department is ready to move into the next level to do, concurrent with other sheriff's department, is what we call video visitation. I don't know if anybody knows anything about video visitation, but brief explanation. It's basically Skype for inmates and their families, where you can view, through remote access through your home or your mobile device or things like that, you can actually have a visual conversation with the inmate, and the company charges a certain fee to the person making the phone call, and that percentage is given back, to us in commission. We take a commission from that. With that being said, I wanted to stress the fact that if you're doing video visitation from your home, of course they charge a fee, but we will also have video visitation consoles at the facility itself, which will basically cut out the contact visits and the visits that would require a person to actually go back into the pods, and it kind of cuts down on the contraband issue that we're having in the facility. So I know you've been seeing in the news a lot of issues with contraband, with cell phones and things like that. Well, it gets passed in different ways, and one way is through visitation and things like that. So this is going to alleviate contraband considerably in our correctional facility. So with that being said, we want to introduce, well, one company in particular, but we will introduce all 8 companies that have come and quoted us a commission price, which that's basically all they're doing, and what features they're willing to offer us in order to take over our inmate phone and video visitation. We don't currently have video visitation. We want to receive video visitation. So I just wanted to give you all just a heads up about that coming. I will have information sent to your office, and I also have the contract sent to the board attorney's office. I've been in communication with the company, making revisions to the contract to take out certain provisions, which of course will be approved by the board attorney before it's submitted, to your offices.
Thank you. Questions from the board?
Just one, is this the SB group?
Well, no, it's GTL, but SB is a consultant for GTL.
Thanks.
Daniel, we'll have that this week.
Yes, it'll be on the agenda for Tuesday.
Good morning, Supervisors. Mr. President, you'd asked me to come back to this board with some figures on the positions for the detention center that y'all voted on. You wanted me to come back with the 3/4 of what the cost would be.
Okay.
Initially, we had asked for 29 positions based on what Mr. Ron Welch told us. And this is for the farm where we had constructed the wall. The total amount for this would be $886,000. If we broke it down to the 21 positions that we talked about, that would be $214,036 per quarter, which would end up coming out to $642,110.49.
The last number again, 600.
$642,110.49, which would be 21 positions for the 3 remaining quarters.
That would be significantly less than what our original expectations were.
From the original numbers, yes, it would be, but that particular day we projected somewhere between 600,000 and 700,000. Any questions from the board?
I have a question. Chief, how did you come up with the number?
That's the salary.
41.
That was the number that Mr. McWhorter had asked, it was 29 originally, is what Ron Rossi said. And then we talked about the number 25. You asked if we could do a few less, and then I think the number 21 came out of that in that conversation.
Can we do it with less?
That's cutting it at bare bones now. Mr. Ron Welch said it would take 29. I think, we get 21 in there. If we get less than that, we're gonna have problems with them.
Supervisor Calhoun?
I'm glad you mentioned Attorney Welch. Have you all met with him and with the condition of negotiating, compromising with him based on the fact that we do have very limited funds?
Well, initially, when we spoke with him and the number 29 he came up with, of course, I told him I didn't think we could do that. And he told me to do the best we could. So we have not sat down with him, but Mr. Welch will work with us based on our situation, and he understands. So I think if we show a good faith effort, and I think if we get below this 21, we're going to be putting some inmates and some detention officers at risk.
Prior to the board making a decision on approving the amount, could you all just touch bases with?
Most definitely. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Mr. Hughes, the jail administrator, she's not here to speak for it. Are you aware of their own schedule with the report that they're going to have to provide to the board regarding these issues and others? I think it's a 30-day report.
The report for the monitors or the administrator?
The administrator. Supervisor Stokes inquiring with her starting that part of the grand jury, there will be a report in 30 days of the assessments of the needs.
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. She's doing her assessments now.
Any other questions from the board?
Thank you.
We're going to this board, pleasure of the board, we will, take a moment now to meet with the Western Group, in the conference room regarding, a contractual issue. And it's my understanding, because it is a work session, no vote is needed, unless the attorney tells us different.
I prefer to take a vote,
All right.
even though you're taking no official action. The fact that we are meeting, 5 of us, outside of, public's view, and there is legal authority to do it, so I feel better if we just state it, openly as to why we're doing it. The statute is, Mississippi Code, section 25-41-7, subsection 4, and let's give credit prompts, subsection 4J. And that allows a political entity to discuss transactions of business and negotiations regarding the location, relocation, expansion of a business or industry in executive or closed session.
So moved.
It has moved and been properly seconded. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. And we're going into the executive session for the purpose of?
Okay, so moved.
Now for the purpose. And he stated purpose earlier.
Purpose is location of business within the county.
Now can we get a second? It has been moved and properly second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We're in executive session.
And discuss matters involving the Western Hotel project. No actions were taken. There was a motion made by Supervisor Graham at the end of the session, seconded by Supervisor Greer, and voted by aye by Supervisor Graham, Supervisor McWhorter, Supervisor Calhoun, and Supervisor Greer, and the session ended at 10:26.
The next item that, let me deal with this one first. There's an item on our agenda that refers to Edwards special event on March 19, 2014, Andrew Sugarman Daniels. Just want to make the board aware of it. I don't have the documentation in front of me right now, but this is an event that they're trying to celebrate in Edwards based off of a true event that happened. I'm going to get my dates off, but I think it was in 1969. The bridge was washed out in Edwards between Hines and Warrenton County, of which numerous people were killed and went into the river. And there was one gentleman that stood there to try to stop the vehicles from going in, and also dove into the chilly water to rescue people. And later on, he was part of the recovery efforts and diving into the water to help over the next 3 days to recover the bodies in that area. And it is documented in the Clarion Ledger and several other documents. A young black man by the name of Andrew Sugarman Daniels. And so they're wanting to acknowledge and celebrate that as a historic event. And it was on March 19, 2014. They're asking the county to be a part of that physically and just supportive of it. Basically doing some preparations around the bridge site so that they can use it as an attraction or a historical marker type point that they're working on as well. So again, that's coming up rather rapidly, and it will be on the agenda, Tuesday's agenda as well. Did you have something? There's another issue that I would like to address. I didn't get here in time enough to do a nice little presentation with projectors, so I'm going to go to manual round. I've
got on the agenda organizational structure. If you would look at the sheet that you have in hand, and I've got some concerns on one of the few members of the board in or in this place who have had the opportunity to serve in just about every aspect of government almost, all the way from a volunteer to a senator to working way up to ranks in the government to also, oh, she didn't like pretty color copy that she referred you all to have.
You're the right one. Sorry for the interruption.
Supervisor Smith name on the attorney. But I've had an opportunity to work my way up through several different ranks and positions and department heads of county lands and elected officials. So I've seen it from several different angles. And simple organizational chart, I won't go through that part of it with you as to how Hinds County is set up and how the divisions are considered and laid out. On the second sheet now, she didn't give me a pretty copy of the second sheet. The second white sheet that I've given you, it points out the county administrators divisions and how it's set up. And that's the way it is, that is the way it is on paper. That's the way that it appears on paper. But I'm going to share with you something that I have seen firsthand, that I have firsthand knowledge of because I was part of it. That's not the way it's set up, and that's not the way it's being operated. If you would pass these, please. Come back up, Mr. Simon. If you would look at the organizational chart, we're operating slightly different on the rating that I just gave to you as DOS Board Supervisor, Administrator. If you would look beside Mrs. Davis, there's going to be, I think, 14 different divisions that are answering directly to her. And span of control, that is our control from any management standpoint of view. And I would like to even tell you that that's exactly what she is doing, but that would be a false statement as well. Look at this last sheet I'm giving you, and this is pretty much what she is dealing with. It's the one that has District 1, 2, 3, BOS, District 4, District 5. Yes. You already had. You already had. I'll do a better job of the meeting, but if you look at the one that has all of that writing on it, that's pretty much what her span of control is right now. She should receive her instructions from the board minutes for this board speaks, but in reality, she's having to answer to 5 supervisors, plus she's having to answer to the board of supervisors as an organized body when a decision is made. Then she's having to work directly with the Attorney's Office, Public Works, EOC, other elected officials, the court, community ambassador, government liaison with all of the other communities. Then she has 14 divisions underneath her. That's impossible for one person to cover and to manage and to handle all of those things. The original sheet that you were given out that we thought that we were operating under, where it shows her and the operations and the administrator and the human capital, that is not occurring. One of the things that was important to me, and I've talked to the other supervisors and still in the process of talking with the other supervisors, is coming up with a list of items that are important to all of us, something that we need to all address at one time so that the county employees will know what's high priority, what we need to address, what we need to go after, and we will provide that with them. But once they start implementing those things, having people in place and are competent and capable of carrying out the functions that we instruct them to do. But when we start dealing with the jails, when we start dealing with the courts, when we start dealing with all of the court orders that we're receiving, when we start dealing with the maintenance issues and problems that we may be running into, every one of those issues involves money. The counties haven't spent a lot of money to do everything that we do. To me, my highest priority is going to be the economic development side. From the standpoint of view, we've got to figure out how to maintain businesses, we've got to figure out how to attract businesses, we've got to figure out how we're going to get new communities and developments in place, and we've got to promote Hinds County in a positive light. And I think we all agree on that anything positive that we can do for Hinds County, we must start doing and doing it right now. A lot of bad things may happen. We may have some criminal issues. We do have criminal issues. Businesses have left, areas have, especially in Jackson and Hinds County area. But there's also a lot of positive things that are happening, a lot of good things that are going on. And based off of that, one of my conversations with the county administrator is that we have got to start putting a lot more emphasis on positive things and not just reacting to everything that happens in or occur. And there's no argument I would feel from anybody on this board regarding that. But one of the things you have to handle, what has happened in this particular division, is that we have handcuffed a person's hand behind their back and shackled their feet and put a lead vest on them and tell them to run the best race you can for the county. We're going to lose in that case. We have got to figure out a way to project Hinds County in a better light. And so my concern is that she needed to free up her hands to do a better job of assisting this board in presenting itself, marketing itself, doing some other things, rearranging some departments and figures and areas within her department to make her more efficient and shorten her span of control. She's still responsible for all of those departments, but there are some layers in between it that you don't have to have. She didn't have to have a hand in all of them. And so I'm asking of this board. We've tried to find in the statutes who actually has the authority and or permission to reorganize or to consider reorganizing some things in the different departments. Right now, we're speaking strictly of the administrator, but we will look at also the EOC. We've done some things in the attorney's office. We're looking at some things as well in the public works, but right now, this specific one deals with the county administrator's office. And so, again, we're not sure at this point in time, does it take an actual vote on this board's part, or we can do a vote at the meeting, or just acknowledgement for her to do what she needs to do to restructure. If there is a position that is added or something, then I do understand and realize we'll have to have board action on that. But right now, I'm wanting to ask of this board's permission and directions to, at the next meeting, to move forward and bringing something back to this board for the board to review regarding reorganization of some of the county administration's functions and duties. At this time, Supervisor Greer, District 4.
Yeah, I appreciate your leadership on this. So we've had extensive conversations about excellence in government and good policies for the county and a PR campaign that projects a positive light on Hinds County and all the great things that we're doing, like this business that came here earlier today. That needs to be highlighted as opposed to some obscure lighted area, over in one of our cities. I think what we're going to see, well, first let me address my thoughts concerning whether or not we should take board action. I believe that we should. I believe that what that's going to say is that as a board, we are strongly in favor of changing how Hinds County does business, top to bottom. And I think that by reflecting that in our minutes, the public will see that, we are making or plan on making some substantial changes in the flow of work, the functions of work, and again, how Hinds County does business. I think also, and we've had some conversations about this, is that we're gonna see this kind of, you know, muddy water in all of our departments. So I think this is a great first step. I appreciate your leadership on this. This is a great first step to changing the culture of how we are managing the county. And I think once we take this model, the model that you're helping create, we take it down to the division level, then we'll start to see some significant efficiency, some budget savings, and I think that the public will be pleased as to the direction that we're headed in Hinds County.
Thank you, Supervisor Gray.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I agree. I think you coming from a fire background, and please correct me if I'm wrong, Joey, the span of control is 5 or 6 people?
5 to 8, depending on
5
what
to 8.
type of activities you're
Yeah,
involved.
5 to 8, yes.
The building is burning down, let's kind of narrow it down.
Yeah.
3 to 7, 5.
Yeah, well, 5 is always a good number as well, but there's a specific number for span control. And I know that from time to time, there are a lot of things that you have to do, everything that comes up every day, emergencies and unforeseen emergencies and things of that particular nature. So I agree with your assessment of what needs to be done.
I agree that we could look at our reorganization, structure, span of control, and yet we stay within the confines of our unit system of government. Our unit system of government dictates what we can and cannot.
And again, we actually have a desire to stay within the, what you're requesting, the unit system, and also within the budget that we're currently working with, but just rearranging some things, reorganizing, so that we have that we know when we're speaking to the county administrator about handling things, that there's an easier system in place for her to handle those things and have some things addressed that the board may be looking at, as well as spending a lot of time pushing the positive side of Hinds County. Again, that's my #1 pet peeve, is that we've got to show Hinds County a better light.
And it starts with leadership.
Right. Any other questions? Ms. Davis, do you mind us getting you some more help?
Not at all, that's something, they got to do better.
The texting to 911, we're going to table that one till the next meeting, or whenever it's brought back again.
Let me just say that it's an unfunded mandate. It's a requirement that by 2015, that every municipality be able to accept text messages to every municipality, every emergency service, and I don't know how much it's going to cost. I'm still getting some information from the FCC. As soon as I get that information, I'll pass it on to you, Mr. President, where you can disseminate to everyone, and we'll know exactly what we have to do.
And you'll get our new EOC director involved.
Right, yeah, we want to make sure, because it's going to require a lot, and it doesn't say at this particular point if only public safety will be the one that will have to be a part of this, being able to accept a text message. It might be everyone in that municipality, I'm not sure, but I'm downloading a big document from the FCC, and so as I get it, I'll make sure everyone gets a copy.
All right. Is there any special announcement I need to read? That we need to
Motion to the mayor.
Mr. President, can I bring up something?
Yes, sir.
You know, that, on that deal with 911, go reading the paper, where a lot of your hotels require you to dial that.
That's Kerry's Law.
Okay.
It happened, a female lady in Dallas died as a result. Her husband was assaulting her, then he took out a knife and stabbed her, and she dialed 911, and she didn't know that she had to dial a 9 from a hotel, and so she was unable to get it, so they passed a law, they introduced a law called Kerry's, K-A-R-I law, that will eliminate any restrictions be placed on an emergency service line.
As our hotel, that's what I was trying to check on, to see if our hotels are in line with that law when they get to.
Yeah, it's not, it has not passed yet, but it is in front, they're still gaining, signatures for it to pass, but not yet, but everyone does expect for it to pass.
When I read that, it just said kill on somebody that,
Yeah.
this little girl tried to dial 911.
Yeah.
And, it only dialed 944, so that was.
Yeah, that's what happened.
Thank you very much. We have a motion to, I have a mic.
Not on the agenda, but I just wanted to touch base with Carmen. Girl Scout Troop 5841 is having their work day at Davis Road Farm Saturday. This is one that have another one next Saturday. They have requested some assistance from both maintenance and possibly the sheriff's department for some additional cleanup and then some supervision while they're there. Have you touched base with them?
Yes, everything's lined up.
Okay.
Designed to be that.
I knew that you had said you were going to.
So moved.
Oh, it just ended. Good.
Okay. Bye.
Yeah, it's over.
Yeah, it's over. We can just say that.
I think these work sessions are productive.
All right, thank you all.
Thank you.
Yes. Very good.
All right.
Go talk to Karen. You want to be in the conference room? Yeah, we can. It's 15 11.
Good, well.
She ready? Okay.
They said for 7,500 miles, we serve the 3,000 because we don't use synthetic.
Right.
So it's gonna come on off and on. I told Jerry, I think what we're gonna do, I'm gonna see next time, if I can set it automatically without it coming on. If we can do that with the service, we'll try it. I just don't know if it can be done. That would take, that would try.
That is clear.
Yes, that's
That's what I had on that particular day. Hey, I'll picture of